friends. This is Tash Cox. We are Unwritten Rules of the Road. Today we have incredible special friends, guests, um, Donna Lynch and Stephen Archer of many projects. I originally met y'all in Ego Likeness when Mankind is Obsolete opened for you in New York.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, but there you have many incarnations of all of your artistic expressions. So
Yeah.
we will start with ego likeness. So of ego likeness.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Really excited to get to chat and reconvene. Last time I saw you, actually you were playing a show here in LA, at the Compound. Um, it was a little bit ago. Yeah, pre-pandemic. So
Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
Complex or
Complex.
compound.
Complex.
Complex. Thank you. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
In Glendale.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
I miss
yeah,
that place so
Yeah,
much.
I
it's,
do
it
too.
was a great venue.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. John still does shows, but unfortunately he doesn't have his own venue this time. So,
Yeah.
um,
He had Stoneburner out
A few years
a
back,
couple of
yeah.
years back.
oh,
So, uh,
nice,
but yeah, we're
nice.
trying to figure out a good fit for us out there as ego likeness. So hopefully we'll find something. But Complex was such a great venue.
Yeah, it was so cool because they actually grew their own herbs in the backyard. So
Hmm.
they would use their herbs and stuff for their drinks,
Yeah.
which I thought was really sweet. So,
And they had that
yeah.
Game of Thrones toilet.
And more importantly,
Yes.
they had really nice toilet paper, which was just always a good thing when you're on tour.
This is very true. This is very true. The toilets on tour make such a difference, right?
They
Like,
really do. It's not something you think about a whole lot, but yeah.
Yeah.
Scott actually had started a series of bathrooms across America. Um, there's some more memorable ones, I will say.
It's shocking how much you learn about bathrooms and rest areas. And it's like, all the years of us doing this, like I can tell you where all the good rest stops are and where the
Ooh.
ones to avoid. And I have a really weird like uh, like gauge of like what's a good one and what isn't. Like it's like sometimes it's just a vibe. It's like we'll be driving and we'll have to stop and it'll be no, not that one. We don't like that one. Well, what's wrong with that one? I don't know. The vibe isn't good there. There's always something about it that just doesn't make it as desirable as the other ones. So, you know.
The general rule is women's bathroom before the show, four doors open, except for the one place that we played at where you would go, you do your thing, you flush it, and the water shoots out of the holes that the lid attaches to on the toilet. And I'm not even sure how that works. I don't, anatomically speaking, I don't know how the
I don't
plumbing
know
would
what
do
you're
that.
talking about.
Well, you weren't in the room with me.
Oh.
I mean, we've done we've
Wasn't
done
one
a
of those
lot of
times
things.
that we went to the bathroom together on the same
Yeah,
day.
we've done a lot of stuff together over the years, but this particular time, it was just me. I could do it by myself.
Yeah, no, I feel like you would have told me that story, so
I
I was
did,
trying to
but it
remember
was like
where it
it
was.
was easily 15 years ago.
Okay, I believe you.
So
Sounds made up, but okay.
So do you like what would make a good rest stop, actually, if
I
there
like
was
the wooded ones, like that are
Mm.
like along the highway and they're sort of in the woods, but they usually don't have anything but vending. So if you stop at those, you can't, you don't have a lot of variety for food or beverage. But those are the nicest ones to stop and just rest and get out and walk around at.
or to
So
sleep at.
yeah, yeah. You're not supposed to, but sometimes you have to. Um, yeah, but then otherwise, if we want food, then it's a little bit different. Depends on what
Mhm.
everybody's looking for. But yeah, the wooded ones are my favorite ones.
But now we're safe because we actually have a portable toilet that we keep in the back of the van just in case. Like,
Oh, that's brilliant.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
it's one of those things where it's like there are certain treks where stretches where there's nothing for
Yep.
hours.
Yeah. So we just got one of the like a foldable camp toilet and it comes with the trash bags and everything. But then we got a tall, narrow tent that you can just like pop up really fast. So it's like we just have our own little like porta pot
And which is
if we
good
need
because it
it.
saves everybody from all having to stand there with towels, by the
Oh,
side.
yes. Yep, yep. Oh, that's a brilliant,
Yeah,
brilliant
and it
idea.
takes up like no space at all.
Yeah.
So that's a if other
It's just a
touring,
nice piece of mind, you
yeah, if
know.
other travelers and touring bands are listening, you should definitely invest in it because yeah,
And of
it
course,
really
for
would
guys,
save
the
you. The
Gatorade
Gatorade bottle.
bottles, you know. So,
Well, we all know those long treks though, where there's like no bushes,
mhm.
it's
Hmm.
broad daylight, and yeah, and there's nothing for many,
Yeah,
Yeah.
many,
well,
many miles.
and just no, not kidding. It is very easy to get like a UTI or something on tour, and it's like, haha, very funny until you really do have to piss, and it's not gonna work out. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Well, I know you guys have a tour coming up. Are you going to be touring as a full band? And if so, like what kind of vehicle are you touring in?
Yeah, it's the four of us. It's Steve and myself and Mike and Rick, and we tour in a minivan.
mhm.
You know,
20 years worth every year.
everything um breaks down. But you were you doing that too at one point? Or
We started
Sure.
off in a the very first tour was like an SUV with all of us like crammed like this.
Yeah.
And then we moved into a 15 passenger van for the
Mhm.
Oh,
six of
okay.
us.
Okay. I thought
So,
for some reason I was thinking that at one point you had, but maybe yeah, I don't know why I thought that. But yeah, the minivan's great. I mean, it's certainly jam-packed in there, but
You know what, though? We can fit all the lights, all the merch, personal stuff,
mhm.
you know, gear, everything in
And
there.
the guys have their own separate seats because it's not a bench seat.
Mhm.
So, everybody does have a little bit of their own bubble of space in it, and gas mileage is good, and.
And it's good because like you really are aware of what you're bringing and how to make it as efficient as possible,
Hmm.
so that's also very good. And like with product or whatever, you can just have it drop ship to wherever you need to be, so you don't have to worry about that too much.
And it's unassuming. It
Yeah,
doesn't look like there's a band vehicle
yeah,
parked
it's not
there.
big white van saying, open me for good free stuff. So
yes, yes. There is that. Yeah. No, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, do you feel like you've kind of got everything dialed in with your packing? Because that's something I'm still to this day where I'm like, oh, I didn't even bring that many shirts.
Oh yeah,
Work in progress.
I overpack clothing wise, but I do keep the suitcase sizes to a minimum. So it's if it can't fit, it can't fit. But I don't know. I think I've gotten better and
yeah,
better over
you
the
you
years
get
about
you
it.
get you get a piece of luggage, like of all of us, you get like an actual piece of luggage. The three of us have backpacks. And I have three
Duffel
bags.
bags.
Yeah, I have three bags. I have one with clothing in it. I've got my machines in one, and then I've got a personal bag for like art stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think we all know. Everybody we work with has been doing it forever, so like, there's no
Mhm.
like illusion that they're going to be comfortable in a meaningful way. It's comfort within limits.
I feel like you might relate to me on this though. The biggest problem is the boots and shoes and things like that because they're big and if I put them in the suitcase, that goes all of my space in the suitcase for everything.
And
So it's
and
like there's just boots stashed everywhere, like hidden.
and for any guys watching, it took me a long time to understand how this works, but the shoes complete the outfit. That's the reason for the different things. Like
I think in the goth industrial scene, you don't have to explain that to any dudes
you know
in
what?
the
Well, I mean,
scene.
I've been in it for a long enough time, and I got to explain it to me. So I'm assuming there's other guys out there that are a little bit less, concerned with the whole thing, and you know,
Yeah.
so I had to, yeah, I mean, I had to understand, but I guess for I also don't really care about, like,
Right.
it's a shirt. Okay, I'll wear it.
Yeah.
Shirt, pants, what
You're
cool.
you're not
It's black. I'm
fancy.
cool. Right.
You're
Let's
not
go.
you're
So
not
I have
fancy.
one
It's
pair of
okay.
boots that I go through every year and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there is definitely an art to the Tetrising. Gordon, our bass player, is the master at figuring out like the placement of all the things. So,
That's
I'm
been
very big on I have this belief that artists are by nature lazy, and so I have spent a lot of time figuring out, like, I built boxes that all of our lights go in. So like we've got four mover lights that sitting on either side of the front that are on a piece of wood. Lid goes on top, clamp it up. All this is one power cord to plug in. So like everything, like all the lights are in boxes. All the boxes have one power cable that plugs into wherever. That's it. Um, so like anything that I can put in a box like that, or build a foam out a case or whatever, so I can just make it as square as possible. That goes a long way to helping stuff. And also, we live in the future, so take advantage of that. There's lots of little tech tricks that you can do now that you couldn't have done 20 years ago, 10 years ago. So that goes a long way too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, is Ego Likeness the first project that you toured with? Or did you guys do any touring before that?
Our very first tour was opening for the Cruise Shadows in Europe. So,
Wow.
no pressure. And there's a lot of, you know, if something goes wrong, it's really easy to take care of that when you're in Europe for the first time and you don't know what you're doing. So that
Yeah.
was a thing.
Yeah, we had played regionally in the US, but it wasn't a um never like a tour. It may be at the most maybe like 3 shows in a row or
Right.
something, and not all that far from home. So yeah, that was a quite an experience uh going into that the first time, it's like that trial by fire.
Mhm.
So
Seriously.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because touring, when you're having to fly abroad is so different, right? Like the way you're thinking about things, even on a technical level, I
Mhm.
imagine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
checking merch, because you can't print it here and ship it over. You have to actually find a place to have it made over there.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, who knows what it's like now. It's been so long since we've toured over there at this point, and
mhm.
that was in what, 2005, I think.
Last time we
2000.
were there was
No, the
2000.
first time, I mean.
First time was 2005, and then
Yeah. So who
a
knows?
few other times after that. But yeah, it's
So
we did learn a very valuable lesson, which is cover your shit up. We were we did our first show, and then we were like, hey, we can go to Amsterdam because literally it's right there, so you can just drive there. And we were in a station wagon, and we had requested for a vehicle without that was automatic because only one member of the band could drive stick. Uh,
and it wasn't
and it
me.
wasn't her. So yeah, our keyboard player Justin ended up driving the entire tour. So that was pretty rough for him. But anyway, we were in the station wagon, and the station wagon had one of those things where you can pull this black plastic over the back uh, to cover up whatever was inside the thing, right? So we're in Amsterdam. We park at the hotel. Everything's cool. We go into the city for a bit, come back, and every single vehicle except ours had been broken into because ours had the thing covering up, so they just couldn't tell what was in there. But if we hadn't done that, that would have been it
Yeah,
for that
we
tour.
lucked out on that one.
Hmm.
That was I mean, it was a great tour, but it was so hard. Like he said, we know that, automatic vehicles are not common over there. So, we made a special request with the company, like, we must have an automatic. Oh yeah, sure, we have them. We have them. Great. Yeah. Get there. Nope, not one in sight. So it was like, oh, and then so Justin tried to teach me how to drive it in like a parking lot of like some big box, store, and whatever the German version was. Oh, it's not good. I tried, really tried.
I feel you. I can't drive stick either, so I
I
mean, at least you tried.
I did because I really didn't want him to have to do, and you didn't have your driver's license yet.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
it just felt terrible that Justin I mean, there was no choice. There was no one else to drive. So he had to do the entire thing, which was never the plan. So yeah,
Yeah.
but we managed and we survived.
So then, I imagine you started doing the touring domestically here in the US after that.
Mhm.
Yeah. We
Did
did a
did
couple more cruise shadows tours actually, like
mm,
with one with just us as main support, and then the other one was with area as well. So we did a couple of years of that, which was great. It got us in front of a lot of people, and so that was really good. And also those tours were just, well, similar to yours. There's like 50 shows or whatever over 2.5 months or something like that. And that's great. I mean, you learn all the things not to do, all the things that work for other people that don't work for you, the things that work for you that don't work for them. And watching a band like that every night and kind of just dissecting what is it that they're doing that makes sense and what would not work well for us. And that went a long way to kind of
Mhm.
learning and
Yeah.
learning how to trim everything down to what you need. So
Yeah.
that was a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. I imagine, like, you were saying watching other bands, like, you know, that have been doing it, is a great way to learn for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't think anybody can even teach you that stuff. I think you just have to observe it,
Hmm.
night, like you said, night after night. And then you start, dissecting it all and figuring it out from there.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, for a band, starting out, like, if for a band that's never toured, like what kind of advice would you share with them?
Oh my God, I feel like, hey, there is a book written about that. It's
Yeah,
called
I got Marty's book.
Or Smart.
Yes.
You know what? Well, okay.
I'm gonna say, I think something, I mean, because that's an amazing book and it's invaluable
Mhm.
information in there. But I think, you know, we're not huge. We're not a huge band in the scene, we've got some fans. We've had we do enough to have sustained the career as long as we have. Um, but we can tell you how to tour when you aren't big enough to be getting a tour bus, when you aren't, doing these huge shows, you're doing these small club shows. And, it's great, but you don't have a crew with you. You don't have, all the space you might need, and everything is just so DIY that I feel like that's where we have a really good handle on how to tour. So kind of joking, but it's like, well, we should write that book, because it would be like okay, well, here's the book about how you tour when you're a bigger band and you've got the bus and the crew and all of that stuff. And then here's how you do it when you're piling into a minivan. And and everybody has a job,
Mhm.
so everything is covered. Um, but just, I don't know, giving like one bit of advice. I mean, I guess it just depends on what the person's needs are. Um, I think we've told a lot of bands that you do not need nearly the amount of
Mhm.
fill in the blank that you think you do.
Yeah.
You
Mm-hmm.
don't need all that gear. You don't need 2 or 3 vehicles worth of stuff. You might not even need all the people that
Mhm.
you have.
Get rid of everything that doesn't make you money.
Um, you don't need like these fancy things either that are just eating up any money you might be making, you know, and
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
there's not a lot of money out there. So, you have to make smart decisions, and you say, like, sometimes be willing to be a little bit uncomfortable, because that might mean the difference between, you coming home with a little bit of money, or even, or, flush, or coming home like so in the red because you thought you needed all this stuff. So
Yeah.
I think you have to have an honest conversation with yourself about what it looks like and what it costs and what you need and what you don't need.
I think the thing I see a lot, and it sucks because I hate being put in this position, but it comes up, and I also, when you know how something works, like you want to ease people into it. And one of the things I see people, or they'll ask me about, they're like, hey, I want to go touring. I'm like, okay, well, that's cool, but why? Like, do you have a fan base outside of where you live? Like, it's very easy to, I think you need to really manage your expectations with it. Like, we've taken bands out that went out and they've gone out as opening acts for other bands. And one of the things that's difficult until you hit the wall and you really experience it firsthand, that you don't get, is that you can go out and play for, like, open for, I don't know, somebody it's pulling in 500 people every night, and they love you and they go nuts and all that stuff. Maybe a few people buy your CDs, and that's cool. And you're like, okay, I'm going to go back out and do the thing, and they you don't really internalize that the moment that you get off stage and the other band goes on, you are gone. Like they no longer, that audience is not thinking about you. And they're not your audience. So like you're going to go back out there, and if you are expecting those numbers, like for that to really, really have mattered, you're in for a real weird awakening, you know? And so, and I've seen that happen. Like I've seen, we took a band out with us once, and I watched it as we went show after show, and the numbers they were really expecting for them were not showing up. And I know that really, had a pretty heavy psychological toll on
Yeah.
them. So,
I mean, it happens.
yeah,
It
it
happened
happened
to
to
us
us. Yeah.
too, like plenty of times. And I think we've learned to, like you said, manage those expectations really quickly. And if you do that, then you can have a good time.
Hmm.
You can make the good relationships. You can get a really solid, even if it's a small fan base,
Hmm.
like you can make it work, but you have to, you just have to be able to be honest about what it is.
I
You know?
literally go into every show assuming nobody's going to show up, because that way, if five people do, that's awesome. And if 500 people do, then that's fucking awesome too. But, like, you can't let it get. We did a show once with a much larger act, and it was on Halloween, and they were gonna, which incidentally is where the toilet thing happened,
Oh, okay.
that venue. And they were like, yeah, we're gonna get dressed up and we're gonna do this whole big thing. And they didn't get the numbers they wanted. It was like 30 people, pretty reasonable for what, a Thursday night or
And it
whatever.
was a small town, small
Yeah, in a
city.
small
Yeah.
city. And we were always of this, well, you're gonna get the best show 30 people ever got, and we're out in the audience and doing the thing and putting on the show. They did a half-hour set and then left because they were like, well, we want to get back home early or whatever. And the promoter comes up to us at the end of the night, and he's like, well, I know who I lost money on. It wasn't you, and that's one of those things where it's like I mean, that makes me so angry when bands do that, when they feel like they are somehow owed an audience or a certain response because of whatever, however they see themselves. Like it makes me very angry. It makes me very sad for both them and their audience, because I don't know, I go into every single show like mentally going, this is somebody's first show ever. And you want that, because you remember your first shows were like and how important those were. So it's a good way of kind of re-engaging with that.
Yeah, and even with a small crowd, those people all paid to be there. They deserve the same exact show that you would give a packed room. There's just no question about that. They don't need to see you being salty and, clearly not having a good time up there. It's just not cool when you see that.
We had this one band that was from New York, and they had done reasonably well in New York. And then they went out on the road with us, and the first show was in Pittsburgh. And they get to the end of their set, and the audience just really wasn't, and they were there for us or to dance. And so they weren't really, kind of milling
But they
around.
weren't rude either. I
They
mean,
weren't rude. No,
listening,
they were,
yeah.
paying attention. They get to the end of it, and one of the guys goes, "Thank you, Pittsburgh. You've been totally underwhelming." And I just turned to my keyboard player, and I was like,
We were like, what?
did that really? Like, how
Oh,
can you not know?
Oh,
And
no. Yeah, that was
yeah,
one of those, like, I think we were backstage and we're like, did we hear that correctly?
right.
Is that what he said?
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
And it was kind of embarrassing since
Hmm.
they were out with us. It was just like, wow, that's
Mhm.
not a good look,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Because I mean, I understand, like, especially when it feels like an extension of your community in a way. So
Right.
yeah, yeah.
And we're all on the same team. We all want, like when we go out and if we're opening for somebody, you still put on the best show and you're gracious, even if people, are trickling in while you're playing, and then all of a sudden it floods right after you get off stage, you still put on the show.
yeah, when you're going out with a band and you're the opener, like you are a guest in their house,
Hmm.
basically. So you have to act accordingly. Like you can't, if you act crappy towards people, that like, I mean, I guess in reality, it doesn't make like promoters, want to punish the headlining act for that
No.
because you don't necessarily, maybe they didn't have a way of knowing that it was going to be like that. But it's just a bad look. It's like you have
Yeah.
to be professional.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, from everything that you're sharing, it's obvious that, choosing the touring life, which is really a chosen life,
Oh yeah.
is and it is a way of life, is something that you both are truly embedded and embodying. I was just wondering, like, why you do it, I guess. Like, what's your why with the touring life?
It's an extension of everything else that we do. Like, um, I this is, I mean, all I do is make stuff that's our entire lives is financed by making music, making art, writing, whatever. Um, because we're both really bad at everything else. And also because both of us have spent our entire lives from go learning how to do it. I mean, I was in art shows at 16. I was in college art classes at 16. Donna was, in opera at -5, so like, in the womb she was singing. And so and one of the things when this comes up, so I'm like, I really don't recommend doing it. Um, it's you
we,
be,
we like to shatter those dreams straight out of the
you know
mouth
what?
of people.
I had somebody
Like,
get
you
really
do not want to do this.
I had somebody get really mad at me one time that I was not being more encouraging to young artists. And, that I'd make these jokes like, oh, welcome to your career in the arts, and somebody falling downstairs or whatever. And they're like, you should be more encouraging. I'm like, well, here's the thing. This is the reality of how this is. Now, I can lie to you and tell you it's going to be really easy. And that might make you feel better until it actually happens, at which point, not only you're running around with this illusion getting shattered, and you get mad at me about it because gave you a bunch of bullshit, and
Mhm.
and then maybe you give up. Whereas if you go into it going, hi, yeah, this is gonna be really fucking hard for the rest of your life, um, it's much much easier to cope with, and I would rather somebody decide, make an informed decision, go, well, okay, that's way too much for me to cope with, so I'm gonna just go do this,
Yeah.
as opposed to, you know, getting into something and not recognizing how hard
And
it
there's
is.
no shame, for the people out there who have attempted, they gave it the shot and they were like, this is not for me. And it's like, there is nothing wrong with you for feeling
Hmm.
like it's not for you
Yep.
because it's really hard.
Hmm.
It's really hard. And
You have to build your entire life around it. I mean, we
yeah.
live in the middle of nowhere because it's cheap. We don't have kids because we're selfish. Um, and all of those other things though, like we don't we've got a lot of random little bits of stuff, but everything else that we own, it's tools, it's art supplies or studio stuff or whatever. Like we don't like have massive collections of random things. So it's like you really have to understand your finances and figure out all of those things and figure out all the ways of kind of weaseling around. For years we had our own silk screening press, so we did all our own shirts, and that was
Mhm.
great because that way we could like sell shirts for $10 each and still make money. Um, you know,
You have to give up an awful lot I mean, and I guess that's true for most things that you're passionate about that really, you know, send you down a certain path in life. It means giving up other things. Um, but it's a lot to give up and just like people not feeling like they're cut out for the physical aspect of being on the road. There's also people that they need more stability than that. And I get that too, especially now as we're getting older and older. It's like, ooh, I don't know. Sometimes because, I'm getting kind of tired, but I'm like, there's nothing else we can do. So we just have to do this until we drop dead, I think.
but you also
Like,
still enjoy it.
oh,
It's
of
still,
course I do, of
you're
course.
still getting more out of it than you're putting into
Yeah.
it. I remember so I work all the time, like it's a problem, and like if I get really antsy if I'm not doing something to making something or putting stuff in the chamber that will eventually help with other stuff. The first time we were on tour in Europe, I was in our vehicle, and I was like, what should I be doing right now? What should I be? I don't know what I should be doing here. And I realized I was like, oh, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, which was just sitting here waiting to get to the next show. And I think for me, when we started touring, it was this moment of, okay, this uses every single thing I know how to do. From making the artwork for all of that stuff to making artwork to sell during it, to gear, to shows, to performing, to just, all the other logistical things. So that actually helps me. I've got awful ADD and I'm very, very medicated for it. But it helped, and because of that, prior to all of those things, for most people who live with ADD, it's very much in the moment, and if you're lucky, you can think a week ahead or whatever. But with that, I was like, well, this is the only thing I've ever done that makes sense to me, and I want to continue to do that, which requires having to really start thinking ahead, like, okay, well, if I want to go on tour again, I need to book 6 months ahead, which means the album needs to be done here, which means it needs to be released here, which means it has to be mastered here, which means the record has to be done here, which means I should have started it 6 months ago. So that, when you have something that does work for you that well, you can either let it kill you, or you can recognize, like, oh, okay, this is something I can now use as a tool to build everything off of it. And that's been great. I was actually just talking to somebody about getting this kind of thing done. Like, I've got a new Stoneburner record that's coming in September. It's been done since August. Because I've been going through different people to mix it and things like that, but I wanted to make sure I had it done with enough time to get it mixed properly. There's an ADD thing that we do that's really unhealthy, which is waiting until the last minute and then using all of that stress to focus you to get it done, which, ends up with a bunch of crap usually. So, instead of doing that, you can also go, okay, I'm giving myself a ridiculous amount of time to do it, and now I can do it at a pace that's reasonable and get the best thing done. So I think that just learning different tricks to allow to facilitate the life that you want to have, and figuring out, okay, what is it? How do you work, and how can you use how you work to help that? And also, like, we divide things much better now. Like Donna is doing a lot of our booking now, which is great because I hate booking tours. Um, and so, like, and she does all the tour management stuff. So, like, once she has everything laid out, she's like, okay, here are the hotels. We know how this is working. We know it should take this long to get here, but we're adding a bunch of hours because of traffic.
15 minutes per hour.
There you go.
That'll almost be exactly right every time. 15 minutes for every hour.
She will periodically go to a bar or something, and she'll end up talking to truck drivers, and the truck drivers will.
Because I think I'm a truck driver, even though it's just a minivan. But I do these long hauls.
It's like a little dog next to the Rottweiler.
I know, that's what I feel like.
And but what's funny is that she'll start naming routes and talking about different things, and
like mountain passes, and they're like, oh, that one's a rough one. I'm like, yeah, I know. Tell me about it. It's like they don't have an entire tractor trailer that they're taking over this mountain. And I'm like, we're in the minivan, but I do
still
know,
terrifying.
yeah, it's still terrifying. I like to pretend I'm a truck driver.
I always sit down. We will, in the interest of, so you can, your goth type band or whatever, and if you bring another goth type band out with you, the Venn diagram of fans is going to be pretty small. But so we'll try and bring out like industrial bands or like whatever, something that's close enough, still wearing black, but not quite in the same thing. And I'll end up having to sit down with them, during the first show. And I'm like, look, I get that you're this big badass industrial guys. I get that, and that's cool. But if you forget that Donna has bigger balls than all of you combined, and you don't do what she says to do when it's time to do it, it's going to be a problem. Like, we've been doing this for 25 years, and we have done X number of trips back and forth across the country. If she says gas up now, because that means there is no gas for a really long time, and all kinds of other just
Mhm. Well, I wanted to be a cartographer when I was little, so I spent a lot of time studying maps and globes and atlases, and go figure that skill has transferred beautifully into the touring life. Just learning how to know, like, you know, just knowing like how long something's going to take and what the topography is going to be like, and just plotting that stuff out. And it's not really a control freak thing. It's I don't have ADHD, but I have anxiety. And that's my way of sort of channeling it into something good, because I won't make an impulsive decision. I will think through. I will think it through every single day. I have it thought out. And the one good thing, again, being medicated is absolutely necessary for us. But it keeps me flexible. Like I've got it all planned out, but over the years, I've become so fine with, if it has to change, it has to change. There's no sense in freaking out over it. But that was a learned skill over time, with medication being added in to make that happen. But yeah, like I I only get aggravated sometimes when we're out with other people and they don't want to trust me on something. And I'm like, you need to trust me. I know what I'm talking about. Like, we don't have to leave that early. I'm like, what we do. Trust me, you'll
Mm.
see why. And then we get stuck in traffic that doesn't move for an hour. And it's like, this
Yeah.
is why we left early, because I knew this was going to happen. Um, so yeah, sometimes they just need to listen to me.
and also really we also trying to remember really practical shit. Like we've got the stow and go seating, we've got um we've got like heat blankets,
The
the
solar
solar
blankets.
blankets, we've got extra water, we've got all the car stuff, signal
Just emergency
flares,
stuff,
like,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, all that stuff, because you just never fucking know. You can be out in the middle of my hobby and end up going on the wrong thing and screwed. And it's come in handy a few times. We had one guy in another band get sick. We couldn't take him to the hospital. He couldn't drive himself. We had to play a show. We wrapped him up like a burrito in one of the solar blankets and just left him in his car, and
I
uh,
mean, not for good. We did get him,
we got him to the hospital,
help
but
eventually,
But
but
even the doctors, they were like, yeah, if you hadn't come, like you were in serious trouble, and if you hadn't gotten here later than this, it would have been a real problem.
yeah.
So, definitely that's one of those things that you do. It is good to know about, and it's good to know like the potentials are there. And if because the last thing you want as a any of those acts is to if you're new to this and you get hit with one of those things, it can throw you for a loop.
We're doing a lot of desert and mountain driving, as we often do, coming up. And I was thinking through all the stuff in our little emergency bag, and I was like, okay, we still have that can of bear spray, but I don't know if it's still good. And Steve's like, well, we try it out. And I'm like, or I could look at the expiration date on it. We don't have to
No,
just
you just
like
spray it in
spray
a
it in each
bag,
other's
put your face
face.
in the bag, and if your head explodes, then
Like,
that's it's still good.
but that's how far I think through stuff. I'm like, we should be traveling with bear spray. But I mean, when you end up pulling off on the side of the road on a mountain and you see the mountain lion warning signs,
Yeah,
I'm like, yeah,
Mhm.
I don't feel stupid for having this bear spray. But it doesn't do a lot of good, like buried
yeah. I
down
was thinking just thinking about
in
that.
the van. So I
And
think
we also have any number of weapons readily accessible in the van as
we don't have
well.
to talk about that.
No, I'm just saying though, it's a good thing to know about that, or things that like
Things
really
that
big
can be
flashlights.
used, things that can be used as
Yeah,
weapons, if we should say.
yeah.
So
No, it's for checking the tires. Um, but well, one of the things I always tell people too is like, look, the shows can't be your carrot. Like you have to enjoy every single aspect of doing it, because you're going to have shit shows. And if that's the thing that you're holding on to as the motivation for doing it, then it's going to be a problem. Like you have to enjoy changing tires in the snow in the Rockies, and all the other weird random things. A buddy of mine once compared it, was like, it's like going into space. Like we all have to get along in our little space capsule while we're doing it, because millions of people want to do this, and you get to, and that's really cool. And when you get back, you never have to do it again. and that's totally fine. But while we're in space together, we all have to get along, you know.
Do you with your people have a no complaining rule or a limited complaining rule? Because that's what we do.
Mm.
Like
So
everyone's tired.
it's actually funny. I guess I've lucked out in that just naturally we're not really that way.
That's good.
So we've never had to set that rule.
That's good.
I will say that I have like the mother bear sense myself when I'm like, oh, he's hungry.
Mm.
Oh, I need to get him coffee. Like I just kind of sense that. But but they don't complain about that, which I'm super grateful for. So
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I think they know that we don't care if they do complain. So it's kind of like we have the vanual, which is just breaks down all of the
It's
rules
the
for
van-
inside the
the
van.
van manual.
The
The
vanual, yeah.
vanual. And it's where I keep
It's-
No
like there's
fish.
no fish in the van.
oh,
Um, so there used to be a no ice cream rule, but now the rule is you can have the ice cream, but when you're done, if there's sticky ice cream everywhere, then you lose your ice cream privileges. That's it.
Yep.
Um, we did make a concession. It's not fish, but seafood. Like Mike wanted the popcorn shrimp from like
Right.
Popeyes, and I said, that's fine, but you're going to count how many are in there, and you're going to make sure that same number goes in your mouth. Because if one of those shrimps rolls away and goes under a seat, and we're out here in 117-degree weather, that's going to be bad, and we're going to have to kill you
Mhm.
and leave you
Yeah.
somewhere. Like, I mean, that's, so, I try to, no fireworks,
Mm,
no
yeah.
fireworks.
They're right there. Phantom
Yeah.
fire.
Well, see, and
Phantom
we
fire.
can't,
Biggest fireworks store ever.
fireworks are illegal to buy in Maryland, so everybody gets really excited at all the fireworks places. And I'm like, we're not traveling with a van full of fireworks. I don't know why I shouldn't have to say that. I feel like I should not have to explain that to anyone.
A bit of a-
What was the newest one? Oh no, nitrous tanks. That's the newest one. That was Rick.
Yeah, well, I'm
Um,
sure.
well, I'm trying to think what else. There's
You're allowed to get sick for 3 days. You have
yeah,
one day
that's
where you
it.
can get really, really sick and complain and be sad about it. After that, like you're either taking you to the hospital or you have to shut the fuck up. So
No, no, but I'm like you though. Like I do ask. I check in all the time with everybody. Are you hungry? Do you need to stop? Do you need a break? I will stop a million times. I build in enough time to do that. So I will stop a million times if it means, people can be more comfortable.
mhm.
Like I do care about that very much. I want my people to be comfortable. But yeah, like and Mike and Rick are so good about it now. And Nathan,
Well, and
the
this is good.
Stoneburner, like everybody's really good about it.
Um,
I think at one point, early on with various people, there had to be some talks about like, I really don't want to hear that you're tired
yeah,
because I've been driving for 8 hours and still have to do a show tonight. So I know you're
Mm.
tired, not invalidating that, but it doesn't make me feel like better. Like,
and also like
like
when we
this
get to the
is,
show, when we get to the venues, like Donna can just chill and whatever because she's been doing all the driving. So it's like she doesn't have to carry anything in, carry it out. She's good.
yeah.
The
Really
other
set up merch, but
Well, yeah.
yeah.
The other important rule is we're the only people allowed to have sex in our hotel room. Very
Yeah.
important. We're paying for it. If you want to go have sex somewhere else, you can get your own goddamn room. Not that we're doing it while they're
No,
here, but it's the
we don't
point
do it while they're
involved.
in there.
But it's the point involved. It's like I don't want to walk
Just
in
like the
after,
toilet.
right. I don't want to walk in after being tired from a show and see that, particularly with the guys in our band. Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good
I don't
rule.
know. I feel like our rules are common sense, or it's something very specialized, and it's specialized for a very good reason.
Mhm.
And that's because somebody did something stupid, and now we have a rule.
Everybody takes their own gear and packs their own gear. Like, and once it's like when we're tearing down the stage, like I tear my stuff down, put it out wherever we're going to stage from. They do that also, and if they don't do that, then I'm just leaving it there and packing it. Like if Rick's stuff is not packed up at all and still set up, and I'm loading the van up, I'm like I'm not touching it. I'm not going to break your
Yeah,
shit.
everybody has to take care of their stuff for
Um,
sure.
we also try to be the band that like we actually re-roll the cables at shows and like try and do all clean up the stages, stuff like that.
People make fun of me because I clean the green room. I
Um,
clean the green room. I clean the hotel rooms too. I mean, I just put all the trash in the trash, like that's not hard. If there's,
Yeah.
tons of cups and glasses, like I just bust. I,
Absolutely.
I was a bartender. I'm like, "No, I'm just taking these glasses back to the bar." It's like, but I'm like, it's not hard to throw trash away.
No, no, and
I don't
like, hey, can I
understand.
unplug my stuff from your snake? Like
Yeah.
just making sure that you're communicating with everybody because like, man, I've worked in venues and I've done sound and like I really absolutely believe that any band that goes on tour should be forced to do live sound in a shit club for about 2 years, and to learn all the things not to do with that. So,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it sounds, that you guys are really amazing at communicating. I mean, it seems like you're able to like really voice, like boundaries and, things like that, which I'm sure is a really big part of how you're able to like, navigate even internal band stuff is just being able to
Sure.
communicate.
Yeah, and all of us have had we've all had that tour where we
mm,
were not in a good place. One of us was not in a good place, and it was a very rough tour. And, it probably was not fun for anyone
mhm,
because of that. But, in a 20-year span of touring, there's only been a couple of, experiences like that. Usually we're all very happy to be back out there. But I mean, when somebody new joins the band, I can't impress upon you how much I try to explain to them, you have to talk to me if there's a problem. I don't care what the problem is. It can be anything, but you cannot sit there and stew and be upset and then lash out or you can't do that. You have to talk. You have to communicate. We need to know if, I mean, we make the jokes about like, oh, you're not allowed to get sick or you're only sick for 3 days. But no, seriously, if there's something wrong, we have to know because then maybe we can do something
mhm.
about it. And if somebody's having a problem with somebody else that we're, working with or around,
Which
it's like,
thankfully is never
no,
the case. But
that's never, but it's like, just,
oh,
well,
no,
not within,
we had that one
yeah,
guy we brought out who was
but
awful.
like, yeah, the communication is everything. You have to, because if you don't tell us what's wrong after we have, begged and pleaded for you to communicate with us and tell us what's wrong, if you don't tell us and then everything goes to shit for you, I can't help you. Like
Yeah.
there was a point I probably could have helped you.
Mhm.
So people need to be responsible for themselves.
Mhm.
And when you are, it makes it easy for everybody else to actually want and be able to help you, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think something I really admire about both of you is just how beautifully honest you are, about your art, about who you are. And I think that's something that I think that actually invites other people to also be able to have that level of honesty as well.
thank you.
So I imagine that you draw that kind of honesty, around you.
Yeah, I
I
feel
think
like it.
so. I mean, I think we work with adults. We work with grown-ass adults, and that goes a long way right there. Like, when we first started out and we were kind of, still kind of a local Baltimore thing, and we definitely had a few people that came along that were trying to like just trying who hadn't gotten whatever their chemistry was or whatever their mental states were under control, and they would do like stupid shit to push back, or like when we were practicing at our house at one point and I had to turn to somebody in the band and be like, this is our house, we live here, we're practicing here, please stop leaving your trash on my sofa, and just like this is a real thing that like it's not just going to be us getting together and writing songs and being happy and all this, like writing songs and being happy, and it's like it's work, it's job, it's a thing, and if I tell you to do something, you do it because it's my fucking band, so that's the other part of it too, like I don't care, bring something to the table, it's cool, if we like it, go for it, if we don't like it, we'll tell you, you stop doing it. um so but in general, like our guys are great, and honestly, if Rick was doing something, I wouldn't know. and neither would he. None of us can hear anybody else on stage. We all have our in-ears, and all I hear are tracks, my guitar, and her vocals.
Our sound checks are hilarious because it's just I don't use in-ears because I don't like them. So as long as I have like a front monitor, I'm fine. But everybody's like, Rick will be like, all right, I need my guitar in my in-ear and take Donna out. I don't want to hear Donna. I don't want to hear Steve. I don't want to hear, and like nobody wants to hear anybody else. I'm like,
Yeah,
I just want to hear the tracks and my voice, and I don't need to hear the guitars because I can already hear them,
in the house. Yeah.
they blast me out with those guitars. So yeah, but it is really funny that we just are like, just pretend we're all in our own little individual zones up here, and that's how you run sound for us.
I was thinking about that the other day. Like, I don't think it ever occurred to me, but what I think the band sounds like is completely different than what Rick thinks the band sounds like, which is pretty funny. So, but the great thing about both those guys is like we don't practice. Like we never I don't think we've had a practice in over 10 years.
Not together. I mean, we
do, but like,
and then they do on their own, but we've never done a group band practice.
so I just send them the songs and we get to sound check, and if we have time we'll run through parts of something,
Like if there's a new
something
song.
new, but
Yeah.
and that's the first time we ever hear it as a group. So but it's nice because you just when you work with people who know what they're doing and you trust them, it's just kind of like,
Yeah, and like what you sort of touched on this, if they wanted to, embellish something or add something in that wasn't in the recorded, version, go ahead. And after that first time playing it, if we didn't like it, then we just tell them like, don't do that. We don't think it worked.
but
And then they
even
don't.
there,
But most of the time it's been like, cool, that sounded great. I think Mike watches for my face. Like if he plays something, if he's like gonna try something new out, and Rick does it too. If they're gonna try something new out, they wait to see if I do the like give him that look on stage. Like, what the fuck are you playing right now?
I don't do that
As long as
at
I
all.
don't do that, they don't see that face, then we're fine. Means whatever they're playing is perfectly fine with me.
I'm not that kind of guitar player, so once I write something down, like I'm the guy from that Dire Straits song. It's strictly rhythm. I just like making big. For me, a guitar is just a big distorted keyboard, and so it's like I'm just playing power chords because and washes with that and stuff like that. And so once it's written, that's what it stays. And my entire goal is just never to fall down. So
Yeah.
that's the whole thing that happens for me on stage.
I wanted to take just a quick moment to say hello to everyone that's been hanging out, and thank y'all so much for hanging out with us. You had a question from Indie Goth Society who was asking what your favorite snacks are.
Well,
Not ice cream.
no ice cream, or can't tell you what. I don't know. You guys like
So Rick and I kind of independently realized that both of us go through a whole lot of bottle caps,
the bottle cap
candies, and he just sent me earlier today a text with a picture of a case that he had bought. He was like, "Well, we're set for the tour." So, uh, you know, we're so minimal about stuff. Like,
I don't even snack. Like
right.
I don't
Like
eat
you
before
don't
a
eat before
show.
shit. I do, but
And
not much.
yeah, but I don't know.
Yeah,
Everybody likes candy.
yeah. Even on our riders, it's like, a deli tray is nice or whatever. Like we always try and keep the amount of money venues spend on us as low as we can. You know
I
what?
think I took that off because
Do-
nobody ever eats the deli tray.
I do.
Do you?
Yeah.
Because usually the venues should give us like other food that we can get right away. So
No, well, I often use the deli.
I don't like being wasteful. So
Yeah.
if we get a deli tray and people don't eat like 80% of it, then I'm not asking for a deli tray again because it's wasteful.
My ongoing thing, actually, I have got a couple of things, but one green apple Gatorade.
Oh yeah, that's
I did the math one time after one tour, and I think I went through like 56 bottles of green apple Gatorade,
Mhm.
2 per show. So
Yeah, if people wanted to provide a snack, that's
always a good one.
a
Yeah.
good thing.
And we have a very, very select number of friends who who will make us things as we go through. These wonderful friends in Tennessee that will make these
The Tex-Mex
Tex-Mex
rolls.
rolls. And we were on tour with somebody and they were like, "What's that?" And I opened it up and I just picked one out and I'm like, "This is exactly what you want right now." And put them in their mouth. And he was like, "That was exactly what I wanted right
So
now."
our Martin sisters, the Martin
Yes.
sisters in Tennessee. Yeah, they anytime we would play in Nashville, one of them would send me a message and say, "Should I bring the Tex-Mex roll?" And I was like, you never need to ask me that question ever again. The answer is always yes.
And they will
Yes,
always like
please.
if it's in like November, they'll also give us all the Halloween candy they've got left over.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
See, and we don't usually we oftentimes don't want people to bring us stuff because a lot of times it'll come in some like very huge thing and we're like, we
mm.
don't have space for this,
Like if
and
it's
that
somebody's birthday,
sucks,
it's like, don't please don't bring us a cake because we
Yeah.
can't do anything
Because you
with
feel
it.
terrible because like we're, usually we end up like we might get it to the hotel and then that's where it's going to live.
Although
We
one
can't
year at Dragon
take
Con,
it.
somebody
So
gave us two cakes, and that just lived on the floor in the corner of the hotel room, and at least I did ate from it every day for 4 days. Just a little bit, oh, a little more of the birthday cake, a little more of the birthday cake, a little more of the birthday
you're like Homer in the sub.
cake.
You-
Substage, you
How do you
go.
put the stop eating? I'm like,
My name's right there.
I don't
It's
think that
mine.
cake's good anymore, babe.
It's a little hard on top. It's okay.
Yeah, yeah. I do love those Tex-Mex rolls. Oh, hoagies.
Oh, yes, yes.
AJ and
Fantastic
Tallahassee.
mix. Yeah, she'll show up with pierogies.
So good.
Or Smonic. Smonic has pierogies too.
Yeah,
So yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so places like that, there's little points of home that are always nice. Um, a lot of stuff we have to be careful with, like baked goods and things like I can't do walnuts and Donna can't has a few things she can't do. So it's like people will try and do that sort of thing. It's like that's cool, but we're good,
I feel it's so awkward like when people want to feed us because it's so sweet and it's so appreciated, but everybody in the band has a different thing.
Mhm.
We've all got stuff. It's like I can't have these things. He can't have this thing. I don't eat meat.
You can always
They
bring
eat
cases
meat.
of Red
Like,
Bull because we'll always do that. If you want to be really awesome, bring AA batteries and socks.
yeah, yeah, that's our snacks. AA
Yes.
battery.
And socks, yeah. Well, no, because I mean, you wear the socks for however long, throw them away. Because
Yeah.
doing that in laundry is just a pain in the ass. Gaff tape.
Yeah. Gaff tape. Yes.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Batteries for sure. That's always
Mhm.
a very appreciated. Yeah.
Mhm,
We
Yeah.
eat our
absolutely.
share in batteries.
No, actually, well, I swap the batteries out every show. I don't know, do you guys do that also? Because I always feel like a horrible wastrel for it, but you can't use rechargeable ones with them. And so I'm sure that they're still probably partially good, but I just don't want to risk it. I don't know if that's what you guys do also. But
No, we actually use them for a few shows, but I have learned how to swap my batteries quickly because
Mhm.
I've had my share of like, oh, that just went out, so
Yeah.
swap it in between.
I have such bad eyesight. Like I'm glad that, again, I feel wasteful for doing it, but I'm glad that we change the batteries and the mic so often because there is zero chance that I would be able to see how to put them in correctly.
Yeah.
If it bright lights and I had my glasses, I'd be fine. But yeah, up there, I'm like, nah, this is the show's over. I don't need this microphone anymore. Just throw it away. I'm just gonna sing like without it. I can't. There's just no way I'd be able to see to do it. Off the side of the stage with like a flashlight, like trying to.
it's for the most part, I think 99% of the time, we do not run into any situation where people look at us any differently because we have a female singer. But we were playing Dragon Con actually one time, and the sound guy's like, "This is a $4,000 mic. Don't cup it. You know how to see."
Yeah, he's telling me how to use the microphone, during sound check. And I just take it in my hand very gingerly and I'm like looking at it like I've never seen one before. And I'm like, what do you do? I'm like, dude, what the? So, I'm like, yes, I will not hurt your microphone, I promise. And I know how to use it. Um, and we get what, one song in, second, we were maybe on the second song, Mike's it cut out, it's gone. There's no sound.
Mm. Yeah.
And this is Dragon Con, so there's like
4,000 people.
several thousand people in the audience, and one of the stage hands comes, running on and grabs the mic from me to figure out what's happened. So I just stood there. I kept singing. I was just like
Yeah, she just was
singing
like
like this in the
screaming
front
at the
row.
entire front
I just
row.
told them to keep playing. I was like, just gonna sing. So, a minute later, they come back and they give me the mic and everything's fine. And after the set, it was like, wow, your $4,000 microphone isn't worth shit if you didn't put new batteries in it. The battery had died.
Oh,
And I'm like, wow, that's really
Yeah, you're a
like,
real pro
thanks,
guy.
thanks for giving me that lesson on how to use a microphone, and then you didn't even change the battery in it.
yeah.
So
Yeah. I feel like might have been a karmic moment.
yeah, I would like to. I
Mhm.
like to think it was a teachable moment for
Mm.
him.
Yes, yes. So, for those of you who are new to the amazing Donna and Stephen, you also have many other projects and many other expressions, which I think is incredible that you integrate it as well into your tours. Like we were talking earlier about how you'll do your poetry reading, your spoken word.
Mhm.
Stephen, I know you're doing DJ sets as well. So just like wondering, like, did this was this a natural progression, like as you began to expand as artists, where you're like, let's just start integrating this into our tours as well.
I mean, yeah. I mean, because obviously the main goal is to make the thing. The next goal is to try to get the thing in front of people,
Mhm.
and so you can continue to make the thing. And you know, it it just makes good sense if you have something that you can take that show on the road and use, and there's one more thing. It's kind of like with the merchandise, of course, we'll have CDs, sometimes we have shirts. Um, but then we've got all of that art, all of Steve's art, and all of our
Mhm.
books. And it's the kind of thing where it's like, well, if you've already bought a shirt, you already bought a CD, or even if you came not knowing who we were and you didn't even like the band, you still could buy some art. Like,
And
like
it's like
it's
you can buy a
so,
t-shirt or you can buy something handmade,
yeah,
for the
Yeah.
but
band.
the but it's so that is kind of the same thing as being able to walk in, to call up a venue and be like, look, I can do any one or all of these things. If you want to have the band, we can do the band. If you want to have a spoken word set, we can do that. If you want to have a DJ set, we can do that. If you want to have an art show, we can do, it's just there's no sense in doing all of this stuff and not utilizing it to its fullest and using the touring, wanting to be on the road. And that's the thing too. It's like I I want to travel. I just always want to be traveling. So the more things you do that can facilitate that, that's it. Like I don't I don't thrive just
Home
sitting
is
at
boring.
home. I do not. Um I am the best me when I'm out on the road, I think.
Oh, we're the best us. I mean, we're better. We're
Yeah.
we're the most content, I think, as a married couple,
Mhm.
um, because of that. Again, it's you. The thing that I think works so well with touring is that, yeah, you know exactly how every day is essentially going to go, but there are a ton of variables within that about how it's going to manifest. And you know, whereas at home have to kind of like prioritize and figure out what you're going to do at different times, and just all of that stuff. It's just so like you actually feel like you're progressing. And also, and I'm sure you experience this, the time stretching, like the only way I know of slowing down the speed of life is by constantly like doing new things and touring. It's like you can go out for 3 days and you feel like you're gone for a month. So, it does,
Yeah, there's a time warp that happens when you're out there, and especially, living where we do, where we have seasons. So, we might go on a tour and miss an entire season out here. like, because it'll be, we get down south and we get out to the southwest and it's hot, and then, it is what it is wherever, but, we will leave here in, at the end of summer, and then, just for example, and then when we get home, it's winter time. And I'm like, where did fall go? Where was autumn? Like this whole time, we just completely missed it. So it's a, it's, I'm sure you guys know, it's just very surreal. Um, because it's like, it feels like it's going on for so long. And then as soon as you're home from it, it's like, God, where did that whole tour go?
Yeah, yeah, it all slams back in there, but while you're out there, it really does have that kind of cool effect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like it's such a present life, right? Like you're
Mhm.
really, really like you have to be really present,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a really good way to put it. And I think when you have like mental health issues like I do, um, my personal hell is being trapped in, the past, like ruminating and spiraling on the things in the past, or fretting and worrying about what is in the future. Where, but you get us in that van, and I'm right there, and every day is a new day, and
Yeah.
like we have it planned out. We know what we're gonna do. Got emergency stuff figured out, all of it. So it's like, yeah, you just live, and I don't find myself trapped in the past, or worrying about the future. So, that's
Yeah.
probably a huge um, internal driving force to want to keep doing things that make it so we can, get in that van and go.
and really we live in the future. Like, I think I was just thinking the only thing I can't do on the road that I can do at home is paint large pictures. Everything else I can do, including recording. Like I bought a $30 USB mic because I hurt my back and I couldn't use my regular one. And you know what? It's fantastic. So I've been sitting recording with that, and it's going out into the world, and so like and using those Steve Slate headphones, it puts you in a studio, and that's good for mixing. And so yeah, I mean, there's just very, very little now that I can't do in a hotel room or in the van. Um, I can't I can't even tell you the amount of work that I have done. I've done cover art for people digitally. I've done all kinds of books and other things just while we're on the road, and that's great. It's yeah. When you're home, I think it's very you really become aware of the holy shit. An hour ago it was last week, and you realize the amount of time that like will just and I hate that. I hate that. You put something in the microwave and it dings. It's like, well, there's 5 more minutes of your life, and whereas on tour, at least, it's like you are much more in the moment, and you're like, okay, well, now I have 8 hours in this van. What can I do to not go crazy and also like, be productive with the time? So you become very aware of all of that.
Sorry, I'm just laughing about the microwave because
It's
I,
true.
I
It's
feel
true
I
though.
know
I
it
think about
feels
that all the
I
time.
caught myself thinking that the other day. I was just looking at the microwave and I was like, oh God, it's just like a countdown to the end of my life every time I do
Mhm.
this. Like,
Yep.
so now I just walk away, go do something
That's
else.
good. That's good. Yeah.
I think that's amazing that you're able to be creative on the road. Like, are there particular mediums that you veer toward, like when you
On
are
the road.
versus at home?
Oh, no, not necessarily. I'll do the same stuff on tour as at home, but I mean, like I do a lot of, like I'll before we go on tour, I'll make all these sketchbooks with like I'll put other imagery into it, right? And then eventually it will end up, something like this, which
Mm,
I'll either sell
wow.
it, from being at home or we'll sell on tour. Um, and I've got these really good systems for like making a lot of work quickly. Um, so like I've got three of those books that were full 2 weeks ago, and now I've kind of gone through and harvested a stack of pages from them that I'm now building up with. Um, so that's something. And like I said, living in the future, I've written entire records on my iPad. With was it Groovebox. So like all the Queen Neon stuff was written using Groovebox as a base and then dropping in into Reason at home and then just adding stuff to that. But even now I don't even really need to do that. Um, or a bunch of years back, I did a tarot deck, and then that was completely analog. That was all paper and pen and other stuff. And so I did what 80 something cards over 2 months on tour with that. And you do a lot of writing in your head when we're on tour.
Only
You're
only
used to
every
it anyway.
once in a while. I no my focus on tour is the inner workings of the, the shows and the tour managing, and then just getting us from point A to point B safely. Like that's pretty much all I have the bandwidth for, really. I mean, I did in the past, I had really fleshed out some stories, and one of them became a novella, and some short stories and stuff, but I I think I just get a little too weary now to be thinking. I mean, if something pops in my head, that's great, but I just like I need that chill time. I need that, it's like I just can't keep trying to come up with stuff while I'm driving and while I'm, trying to prepare myself for the shows, and, so it's like I feel like I have enough jobs going on.
We've done a lot of
Um,
like of kind of pre-work for records too, just like working through concepts and things like that. Drive Late night drives coming back from New York are really good for that one.
mhm.
Like 3 hours on the turnpike in the dark.
Yes. Donna, you have a fellow writer in the chat. Doug Stevens wanted to ask about your writing. If you could share where people could find your writing, and if there's any places that you're going to be doing any of your spoken word.
Yeah, sure. Well, my most of my books are put out by Raw Dog Screaming Press. So they have, I think you can buy off of there. Our egolikenessband.com has the links to our books, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But all or you can just look us up on Amazon.
Yeah, but some people aren't
Mhm.
keen with using Amazon now, so
But
it's
and pretty much any
yeah.
book distributor.
But you can see what my like on any of the websites, like Facebook or on the Raw Dog Screaming Press website, it, has my bibliography on there. I am doing a spoken word set, as well as Ego is playing in Minneapolis, coming up on I don't know what day that is. Let's see. Minneapolis is on May 13th. So I'm doing a spoken word set at that show, and then I'm doing one in Meridian, Ohio on May 25th. There will be more. I did a whole spoken word tour last summer where I did, they think, 16 cities. Um, and but there are several cities that I didn't get to hit on that tour, so I'm gonna try to kind of make up for some of those as we're doing these shows coming up. So
And also probably next year.
yeah,
And now I'm going to be doing some too, which will be
yeah,
kind of fun.
yeah.
So
He's putting out a book of poetry and short stories, and I've heard some of it
Amazing.
so far, and it's really good. And I think I think it would be fun for us to go out together and do like a double spoken word thing. Well, I told him he has to open for me, but that's, he already knew that, so.
No, that's awesome.
you got
Uh,
three.
I'm excited. I would love to be able to experience the duo set like that. I imagine it'd be really
Yeah, I'm excited. I think it'll be really fun, and definitely we'll try to figure out the timing on that once he gets his book out.
yeah.
So, and I have a new one I'm working on, so ideally I would have that ready as well, but we'll see how quickly we can get those wheels in motion.
Um, they referred to the band site, that's egolikenessband.com,
Yes.
for those of you who are new. Um, Also, you're getting a hello with love from Out at Radio
Oh, hey,
Valkyrie Records.
oh, hi, Mark.
Mark, so I've been a fan of Mark since 2000 or no, 1991, probably when they put their first record out. And that's one of the cool things about this. And I'm sure you've experienced it where you get to, you run across these artists and it's like, oh, this is amazing. And then you end up becoming friends with them or working with them or whatever. And, Mark is, he masters a bunch of my stuff and does some mixing. He's kind of my last line of defense on a lot of the stuff that I do, where I'm just like, okay, here are all the stems, fix anything I did wrong. And he's also one of those people that is so gracious with his time when I'm like, okay, how does X thing work with frequencies, or I'm mixing something and this is what I'm trying to do. And, he's so gracious about kind of not making me feel stupid when I ask, which is nice. Yeah, no, he's fantastic people. And we did a song together, actually. We did a cover of Future Acid by Consolidated. So that's also a very cool thing.
I love that. I love the interweavings, and it really is a small world in our
Mhm.
community. It really, really is.
Mhm.
Speaking of which, Clint Carney of
Oh,
System Sin is here, and I was saying those Steven Slate headphones are awesome. They're
yeah.
killer. Yeah,
No,
it's
I
them
was I
too.
was blown away by it, and it has really made like the quality of my mixing went night and day when I started using. Clint's another one of those people that I every year or two I will like write him about some sort of obscure sculpting thing, and he's always very generous to explain to me. It's like, oh well, yeah, you need to like wash the plastic because it doesn't handle paint well a certain way. I'm just like, oh okay, well there you go then. So yeah, it's always I feel very lucky to know so many people who know so much more about these things than I do.
And the selflessness of it, because I don't think we know anybody that isn't happy to tell you exactly how
Mhm.
they do something.
Yeah.
Like we don't have to keep secrets. It's like very much believe in helping people learn how to do the thing, because they're never gonna copy you. It's never
It's not a competition.
right. It's not a competition, and it's like they're not, even if they have the same sort of process of creating a thing, it's still not going to look like your thing. It's always going to be different.
Mhm.
So, um, I think I really appreciate how much everybody in this scene is so helpful with
Yeah.
that. Like, it makes me very happy, for all of the things that people complain about with scene stuff. And, of course there's all that mess sometimes, but
The
the
people who actually do the stuff like really like are tend to be pretty oblivious to all of that anyway, and or it's just irrelevant. Like that's all
yeah.
whatever. But yeah, yeah, so many people like helped us early on, like Voltaire, Cruciatus. They were the first people that I could call up and be like, "How does this work?" And they explain it, and so I just think it would be incredibly shitty of us to not do that when people ask us. And I love doing the things that I do and the things that we do. And if me explaining something helps you find that love for yourself, find something that really engages you that much, that's absolutely worth it.
Mm,
Um, so
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. I feel like also like when you're sharing, it's like I feel like it also deepens your own understanding, like to have to voice it out loud, right?
mhm.
Hmm. Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, because you have to be able to like break down the steps of whatever it is you're doing, or there might be tangential things. It's like, well, okay, I can explain that, but it's not going to make any sense unless you understand these other parts of it. So that's yeah, I've taught forever, and I I love it. I just enjoy it so much, like being able to have those systems where you can be like, okay, no, this is the why of this, not just the how, which is always cool.
Yeah. If anybody ever wanted to learn anything in particular from you, are you able, it's like, is that something people can hire you as a
Yeah.
Yeah,
teacher?
I
Okay. Yeah.
teach. I don't teach like standard poetry because, I didn't even go to school for it. So I can give you the very quick basics of Poetry 101, but I like teaching people how to write horror
Mm.
poetry, and how to write horror short form stuff. That I've done some classes and a couple symposiums on that, which is kind of a specialty thing, but I love teaching that. So yeah. And I've done, I've had people ask me to read their stuff before and just give them feedback on it. So, I'm available for that kind of thing. And yeah, he teaches art.
I do art classes. I've actually got a really good system for teaching painting to people who don't have great drawing skills. Like, so that way we can kind of cut through all of the stuff that you can't do to get to this kind of stuff, which is more interesting. I've got a good system for doing that online. So yeah, I'm available for that. If anybody wanted to talk gear stuff, I'll usually just talk about it for free. But if there's specific things you want to learn, I'm sure I'd be happy for you to give me money to do that. But also, where was I going? Oh yeah, but also we do other stuff like Donna can do editing. I do remixing. I do production for people. I do a ton of cover art for folks, book covers, music. I I do commissions of pets,
I
pet
kind of
portraits for
only
people.
edit. Yeah, the pet portraits are really sweet. I love those.
Oh,
Um,
I've lately been enjoying it because periodically I will get pet portraits as historical figures. So I did somebody's dog as Vlad the Impaler, which was a lot of fun.
it came out so good too. Um, oh, I was saying I don't tend to do a lot of offer editing services. I just do your stuff because
Mhm.
I know if I mess it up, you won't get mad at me. So, you know, that's kind of that. I'm not as sharp as I used to be catching mistakes and things like that. So got the lime brain.
but I think that's, I mean, an example of the fact that you really are very multidimensional,
Mm.
So it seems like it's a true life of of the artist, where it's sort of like doesn't really matter the medium, you're just
Right.
It's all
expressing.
the same. It's just different
Yeah.
tools. That's kind of the thing that sometimes there's better ways of explaining, you can use a different tool to explain it differently. And sometimes they kind of feed into each other, which is always very cool. Like, a song will become a story or the other way around or whatever. I mean, it moves across all of them, which is kind of neat. Like, I mean, hell, I did an entire Stoneburner EP that turned into a 200-page graphic novel, so um, yeah, it just goes where it needs to go to tell to be as fully realized, I
Mhm.
guess, as you can.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because I had a conversation with Clint about this actually the other day, but do you go into an album knowing that you're going to write the album, or is it one of those things where you have been writing songs for a while and then you're like, oh, I think this needs to be an album?
Um, with Stoneburner and my solo stuff, it's almost always going in, like I'll have a few. Okay, so I don't write songs. Like I don't write a song and then write a song and then write a song and then write a song. I'll write when I know that I'm getting ready to do something, I'll start blocking out 30 parts of things. And then that's my job for a week. And then my next job for the next week is making those into a verse. And then my next job for that is giving all of them choruses. And then so I end up with a whole bunch of stuff and I figure out where they go. Um, so yeah, and for that, I'm always working towards something like that. Recently, I did a concept album that was a whole other thing where I was definitely like, okay, this is the story arc that I need to do. And so to figure that part out, that was a really completely not my normal thing. It's like a straight up concept rock record, like rock and roll, which I almost never do. So that was figuring out how to make that work and flow and kind of having the and knowing the story was interesting enough and trying to explain relatively complex concepts in that mode was a real weird experience. Um, with ego, we tend to start out with a concept, and once we kind of can nail what the concept is for the thing, we're usually pretty good. Um, and that's just figuring out which songs make the most sense musically to do with it. Because I'll always have lots of things just sitting around, lots of parts. So it's just kind
Yeah.
of figuring out.
And I'm super difficult. The songwriting process is my least favorite thing. I love writing poetry. I love writing short stories. I hate writing songs. I just
Mm,
so frustrating. It's so frustrating to me. So luckily he takes, he just does so much of it. And then eventually I can come in with the lyrics and I can, help pull it, get something that I'm not immediately like, I hate this. Like, record like one line of vocals and I'm like, no, I hate it. So I don't want to be like that. I don't know why it's so hard for me. I don't know. Um, I know I'm a nightmare for him to work with, until once it gets rolling, then it's fine. It's
mhm.
just getting over
Yeah.
that first hurdle. It's getting those first couple of, you know, parts down or first couple songs or whatever. And then it's like, okay, now we figured it out. But um, I kind of make the joke about being that nightmare, but it's not funny and it's not fun. Like I don't want to be like that, but
Yeah.
I don't want to stop doing this either.
Mhm.
So, but it's such a long and difficult process for me.
Whereas I've averaged one record every 3 weeks for the last 5 months.
Yeah.
So I write when I'm stressed, and because of yeah, I've been very stressed, and so it's been for me that's been like I'm not gonna say they're cathartic because I'm not talking about as much about all the stuff going on in the world, but it it gives me something to do other than focus on any of that stuff. So that's been great. I mean, like I've got one, two, three, four more records that haven't come out yet that are
Yeah.
done essentially. So
Wow. Yeah, I mean it's so different because I feel like in a song it's like it's very condensed. Like as opposed to like a poem or a short story, it seems like you have a very little amount of time to
Mhm.
share a message, right? So
And you have
yeah.
to have the hook. You have to have the thing that, the line that people are going to remember. So you're using up space there as well. And it's a vital part of the song and it's great. But yeah, like I if, with poetry you're condensing and then with lyrics you're condensing even more. The for me, the lyric writing, I should say it isn't writing the lyrics is not that hard for me. Like once I kind of have my idea, it's the vocal melodies. It's the
Mm-hmm.
musical part of it that I just can't get my head wrapped around it easily.
Yeah.
And I was, I am a musician. I was a musician. I played piano my whole life, so and I took music theory when I was in school. Like, so it's not like I don't know music. It's just I'm just stuck somehow. I'm just stuck. I think, maybe when you do something for a very long time, well, obviously not you, but when some people do something
don't
for a
try and
very
do what
long
I
time.
do.
Well, no, and that's not even the thing. It's just, sometimes it's hard to find that spark again, but it's there. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like I don't want to stop looking for it because I know it's there. Just starting to get my hands on it. So
Yeah, it's so interesting the muse. I feel like the muse is such it's a beastie.
hmm
Because I find for myself that if I try to control it too much, it does the opposite.
Oh
Doesn't
yeah.
Oh, you can't force it now.
nope.
Well, that's
Yeah.
when everybody's, has because we haven't put out an ego album in many years now. And, it's a fair question, when are you going to put something new out? And the only thing I can say is that I'm not going to do it until it's not having to be forced because I just
Yeah.
can't. It'll be out when it's out. I have to find it and I can't fake my way through that. Like that's just not something I can phone in. Um, and even if I could do it, it wouldn't be genuine, but I don't even think I could force myself to do it. Like even if I wanted to fake my way through it, I don't think I could. So, yeah. So,
Yeah.
I don't mean to sound snippy with people when they ask, but the answer is always like, You'll get it when you get it." No, it'll be
You'll get it when she gets it. I mean,
right, right.
it's not like this thing that we're specifically keeping from you. Good. We're not
Right.
coming to your town because of you know what you did. Um, it's look, the best I can, the best we can offer. It's like, look, we're on the road an awful lot. And I've got a whole bunch of shit that's out that like, that's something, so
And we have a lot of songs, so we do switch up the sets from tour to tour. Like we're not going to do the exact same set. You're not going to see the exact same show every time. So,
Rick
you
will
know.
be with us, but he's just part of the package, so you'll have to be okay with it. Like, we don't like it either, but it's in the contract,
Oh,
and
No, I mean, I think it is quite the juggle. I also do the tour planning and managing myself. So it's like it is a lot of hats to wear. So and when you're on the road a lot, it is very difficult to like be like, okay, I'm gonna switch off the side of my brain and
right.
then
When we first met, I remember immediately feeling like you and I were like kind of cut from the same cloth with all this stuff. Like, uh, you know, everybody's got their roles, and I was like, oh, okay, there's somebody I think I see like a lot of parallels here. So yeah, so that's why we definitely need to endeavor to do more stuff together.
yeah,
I am happy that we're doing Cat's Fixation up in Detroit. That's going to be really special.
yeah,
Really.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. It was I think it's going to be one of those things where I think everybody needs it. We all need to be there together. So,
mhm.
yeah, it's going to be a very, very special.
And I've already decided there are things that I wanted to say on stage that I just don't think I'm going to be able to, because there's
Mhm.
just I can't even say them in my head without
Mhm.
like getting teared up. So I'm not sure what's gonna come out, but I think just by virtue of being there, it'll be a really wonderful thing. So
Yeah. I was chatting with Ken about that from Amaranth, and they wrote a song, Remembering Cat, and he was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make it through this song, and I was like, well, we'll all help you sing it. I think it helps to have buddies.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, I've definitely played my share of shows where it's like impossible to sing without. It's like when your throat closes up, there's no sound that will come out, but you
Mhm.
can't help but feel those emotions.
Mhm.
So,
That's honest. That's real. I mean, like, that's I would rather that than like you do the thing over and over and it becomes this rote thing. So
Mhm.
it like as I'm sure it's like reminding yourself to be present and be in that moment and finding those emotional hooks. Even as somebody who's not
Mhm.
singing or when I'm singing with Stoneburner or whatever, it's figuring out like how to tap back to those feelings. Like there's this one song I was doing a while back, and it was very much about loss and all of that stuff. And I was up there, and a grown ass dude, half in tears, trying to get through this song about a wolf a half mile high wolf dying. So it's like, but you have to tap into that in order for it to be honest and right.
Mhm.
And if you're not giving that to the audience, it's just doesn't it's just not the right thing to do. If you can get there, it's the right
Mhm.
thing to do.
yeah, absolutely. I think it's well, I mean, every artist is different, right? And but I feel like with especially you two, going back to the authenticity, I think that the people that are resonating with your art, with your music, they want that. They want that authenticity.
Sure.
And like, myself personally, it's like so inspiring. It's something I want to support. I'm like, we need more artists out there that are expressing in such an authentic way. So, you know,
Yeah. Yeah. And
yeah.
it's not to disparage like other kinds of music that are maybe a little bit more removed from that sort of raw emotion. And especially in our scene with, any kind of electronic music, you're already sort of putting this you know, inorganic element out, which is and it's awesome and that's great. So yeah, this is not me in any way saying that there's something less valid or less important about that. Um method of song, singing, writing songs, performing, whatever. But there's something really wonderful about sort of bearing your soul. It sounds cliche, but but
Well,
it really is. It's like you're just, and it was the same with the spoken word. And that was actually scarier than getting up to sing, um, ever was for me, because I'm like, wow, it's just me standing up here with a book in front of me, and I am reading to you these intensely like dark, uncomfortable things, and some of them were about me and some of them weren't, but it didn't even matter. It was just like, wow, I feel really naked up here. This is,
Yeah.
so, but it was good. Like it felt really good to do it.
yeah, you can't coast. I was talking to Nathan about that the other day. I was like, it's kind of like the difference between walking and riding. If you're on a bike, you can just like pull up and coast and let the bike carry you. But if you're walking and you stop, you stop. That's it. Like there's no music to keep going. There's nothing. You have to just kind of keep.
Mhm.
Like I just did it for the first time the other day. So that's kind of why I've been thinking about it. I don't have the same level of experience that she does with reading in public, but kind of for the doing it for the first time, it was noticing just the differences and the where you do have to kind of get to in order to again do it in an honest way and properly.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, have you had performances where you're like, wow, I can't connect to my heart for whatever reason. I'm not connecting. Um, you know, and you
Oh,
have to just kind of, yeah.
yeah. I mean, it sucks to do it because it just feels like going on autopilot. But when I have been sick, or
Mm,
I have a lot of chronic pain stuff. So I feel like sometimes I'm up there and I'm in and out of my body a little bit if something starts to hurt. But I can,
The
I
audience
mean,
won't know. Like there's work shows and there's fun shows.
yeah,
And if you're doing the
mhm,
work show, they're not gonna know it, but
like I think so, either illness or something painful is happening, and that can sort of disconnect me. The only other time that happens is if there is some abysmal sound thing going on,
oh
like
yeah. Hmm.
just everything is shitting the bed, and it's like I can't hear what's going on, and I can't, that that can be hard to stay present, you
Hmm.
know. Then you're
Yeah.
almost like, I just want to get, like, I don't even remember the last song I just sang. I just want to get through it. But luckily, it's not often that it's something that is that bad, that it's so bad on stage, like the sound is so bad on stage that it's distracting.
Hmm.
Like I can't even think about what I'm doing because all I can hear is the fact that I can't hear, or the fact that something sounds really bad. So yeah, but I don't think that there's ever been another reason why I wasn't present and having that that connection, like that heart connection, like you're saying. I think that's really the only time something like that happens.
the goal is always to go up there and become the vehicle for the ideas of the song or whatever it is you're doing, and just hitting people with hammers, kind of just trying to get this through. This is a real thing. This happened, or even if it didn't really happen, it's still true. Whatever. I had a weird moment during a show recently where I actually ADD'd the fuck out, and I was just completely. I was like, I didn't even know what verse I'm playing right now. And that almost never happens. Like I'm usually very very aware of that particular thing being a potential problem, so it doesn't. But and when I snapped back into my head, I was just like, wow.
Did I give you the look, or did you
No,
not
no, no, no,
notice?
you
Okay.
didn't notice it, but yeah, I no, I absolutely did. No, because my hands were doing their job, and that part was fine. But like, yeah, it was
I
very
for, I
unusual.
forget lyrics all the time, but it's not because I'm not present. I just forget.
Holes in
I've
brain.
just been doing this a long time and I just forget stuff. So luckily he usually knows
Yeah,
that
I'm
I'm like,
always singing along, so I'll look over and be like,
yeah.
Yes.
Don't get upset about it anymore though. If it is noticeable enough that the audience can tell that I'm messing up the lyrics or I've forgotten them, I just laugh about it.
Yeah, bring
I
the
just get
audience
upset.
in, have fun with it.
I'm doing my best. I'm not up there drunk. I'm not up there. It's happening for very normal, natural, understandable reasons. And that is just age and, chronic illness stuff that's kind of messed with my brain a little bit. So I'm just not, saying earlier, I'm just not as sharp as I used to be with some of this stuff. So, um, but yeah, like I'm not gonna let it upset me on stage. And I think when you don't let it upset you, then the audience doesn't get upset either. I've never had anybody say, "Oh, I didn't enjoy the show because you forgot some lyrics or you sang it wrong or something." Like that's silly. Like that has to be so silly. Like if that's enough to ruin a show for you,
One of the
then
most
I don't know how to help you.
elegant things she ever did with a screw up is back when we were touring with the Kurzweil, and we were in Hollywood, and she sits down at the piano and her hand slips and just falls on the low keys, and she's like, you know, like wait, lets it fade out. She's like, all right, thank you.
And
Yeah.
got up and walked away. It's like that's
Yeah.
what
I
you
love
got.
it.
Yeah.
I think your theater background was probably showing. Yeah, I mean I was curious, like, do you guys have any like warm-up practices or anything to get you in the zone to get ready for a
Literally
performance
roll out of
or
bed onto stage and start.
Same.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing that I like, I don't need much time, but right before we go on stage, I have to get away from people enough
Mm.
to not talk for a few minutes. I can't like be in a conversation and have somebody talking and talking and talking. And then it's like, I need that just a couple of minutes of just like, let me just stand here and be in my body and, be ready. But, you know,
I actually do it old
literally
school.
it's like 5 minutes before we go on stage that I have to do that.
I have one thing that I do, but it doesn't have to do with being on stage exactly. I hate being there and having when people are coming in because I just don't want to. It's like I'd rather just walk out on stage and see if there's 5 people there or 100 or whatever, instead of like being around and watching them slowly come in or whatever. So I like try and go out for a walk for like half an hour or something, which is just good to get some extra exercise anyway. But it lets me kind of see where we're at and kind of get back into my own internal space after setting everything up. But I mean, other than that, yeah, I've done shows where I was napping backstage and it just like roll up and go. Um, I think it's funny how, and I'm sure you experience this, where you do it so much that it's really the difference between here and there is nothing anymore. Like there's an old George Carlin record. He was like, oh, well, here I am. I was back there. Now I'm here. And it always feels like that to me. It's like there's no, I don't know. I've always kind of had no shame. So like it's always just been like, okay, well, we're here, we are together, and you're going to see this, and whatever happens is what's going to happen. And like I said, as long as I don't fall down, I'm usually pretty good. So, and I haven't taken any artifacts from Indian burial grounds in a while. Last time that was when the last time I fell down was when I did that, and that was I shouldn't have done it, and I was wrong.
I know, I told you.
It was the wrong thing to have
Told you
done.
not to take it.
And this is actually, we're not even making that up.
It
It's a
was-
true story. It
It
wasn't a
wasn't a
burial ground,
burial ground.
but it was a monument. Yeah.
In the desert. And I said,
Look,
we get in the van and I'm like, there's
there's a
what it
skull
was.
over there. Like,
No,
what the hell's the skull for?
it wasn't a skull.
I
What
know,
did you,
I'm
it was
It was like a
something.
bolt or something.
It was like
Some piece of.
Yeah, like a nail or a bolt, and it was like on the dashboard, and I was like, where did that come from? And he's like, oh, I picked, and I was like, have you never seen a movie? Have you I mean, you have cursed us now. Like this was not okay for you to take. So yeah.
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 And that night I jumped up and I wasn't using the wireless. So I came down on the guitar cable and it rolled out from under me.
Oh
But you know what? I
no.
managed to pull off the whole roll, fall back onto my back, roll back, and jump back up before she noticed. So that was pretty cool. But
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, don't do it.
It's cautionary tales. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't take sacred things.
It's nice, it's nice though, not really getting stage fright. I don't think
Yeah.
any of us have stage fright. Like it just doesn't. I mean, if we're in front of a really big crowd, like a really, really big crowd, or if it's, and especially if it's the kind of thing where they're not necessarily just there for us, you know, like we're part of a convention or something.
You're
I
opening for the Damned. You're the thing between the fans and the Damned.
right. Like,
Yeah.
well, when like the first time we opened for the Dead Milkmen,
Right.
because I was like, this is not our crowd. Oh my God. Like, what are we? And we did have, it was in, what was DC?
It
Was
was
DC the
9:30.
first one? Yeah, 9:30 Club in DC. And, you know, so we have a lot of DC friends and fans and stuff. So they were all there. And the nice thing about like the older DC scene is that they all love punk too. So like they were equally coming, you know, not just to support us because they're our friends, but they're like, yeah, the Dead Milkmen, that's awesome. But you know, the rest of the however many hundreds and hundreds of people that were in there were not in there to see us. And we're not like big fans of, you know, whatever genre we fit into. But it was great. It was great. It was, you know, I don't know. Nobody booed. Nobody, you know, nobody walked out. Like it was fine. People bought stuff. But that was like one time, like in recent history that I remember feeling nervous. Like it definitely was like, I hope this wasn't a bad idea. But those guys are so great. And, you know, they were very much about like, hey, like, you know, this isn't a bill where the venue just threw this band on with us. Like these are our friends and we like their music and they're playing with us. So there was sort of this like, you know, don't get shitty. Like these are,
Yeah,
you know, these are our people. So that made it a little bit easier. Now it's great. Now I don't
Mhm.
feel weird about it. So
that's awesome. I mean, I imagine like with just, all the experiences you've had, like you said, it's like you put less pressure on yourself and, taking away the element of like perfection where you're like, okay, just being who
Yeah.
I
I mean,
am, right?
yeah, yeah.
yeah. I also like, look, you don't have to like me as a person, and that's cool. Like I get like I recognize I'm an acquired taste, but you can't take away from what I do. Like the stuff that I make it's good. You don't have to like it, but you can't say it's not technically good. And I think once you kind of reach this point in your life where it's just like, look, whatever, this part doesn't matter to me. That part, as long as you recognize the skill involved in it or the quality, the innate quality of whatever it is, that's all I really care about. Like I'm beyond that. I can't control any of it. But knowing, being okay with that. Like you can't take away the fact that I'm proud of what I do. And I think,
Mhm. I
I
like it.
love that.
oh, you're like, yeah, and honestly, no, but ultimately, like in the end, Donna and a few other people, their opinions of what I do are really the only ones that matter. And everything, like I was thinking about this recently because with some of the solo stuff that I put out, where I've kind of like, I don't care. Like if it's popular, it gets very popular. Hey, that's fucking cool. But honestly, like I'm just making this stuff, and if a dozen people it resonates with them, awesome. I'm making it because it's what I do.
You can't make anything for other people because how would you possibly ever be able, like, there's always going to be somebody who loves it and there's always going to be somebody who thinks it sucks.
Yeah,
So you can't, that's just not, I mean, you can, you know, try to figure out what audience you want to gear your stuff towards,
yeah.
but
Once it already
you
exists, but
can't make anything kind of like how, you know, it doesn't matter, you know, how good your stuff is or how much you want to do it. You're not guaranteed. You're lucky. You're lucky if you get that audience. You're lucky if you get people
mhm.
into what you're doing because there's so many people out there and there's so much, you know, stuff to consume and there's so, you know, it's like it's this huge thing. You're so lucky if anyone pays attention.
Yeah.
And but you know, like you've always like you're not owed that either. Like it's you put out good stuff, you make the best stuff that you can make the stuff that you want to make,
And as
and
honestly as possible.
hopefully hopefully, you know, people will notice. And I mean that like there I don't feel like there's anything else
No, I think I think
behind that,
I
you
think the
know?
audience knows when you are manufacturing something because you want to be popular. Like I think that there are bands out there and you can watch them change what they do, every record or whatever to try and tune in with whatever the current thing is. And to me, that's not art, that's product. It's like it's vanity. It's like you know your goal is to put this thing out, and I don't know, the idea that somebody would ever look at or listen to anything that I make and immediately go, I wonder what this person's like that should be the last thing anybody ever thinks about, is like I'm just this vehicle that's where that stuff comes from.
Mhm.
So if you're putting this stuff out and your concern is you want them to know you as a person, so you're getting the spotlight on you, not the thing, not the stuff you make, but you. That to me is probably the biggest sin in my little on my little list of horrible things you can do is you know to sell people product when as and but telling them it's art. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I imagine it's like what you're saying, the letting go, and not attaching the what is it? The outcome, I guess. It seems very liberating. Like there's a freedom, I imagine, and just giving yourself that permission and just being like, I'm just gonna create and,
Yeah.
you
Well, you know,
know,
It's perfectly fine to, work on those business skills.
mm,
I mean, obviously, if you want this to be your business, you have to be able to do that. You have to learn that stuff. But, it's so hard to do. And you just don't get any guarantee of anything panning out. I mean, so yeah, I mean, I worry, we have bills, we have debt, we have all kinds of stuff that we have to take care of, that we do need to make money for. So we do the best we can with it. So that is a worry, but it isn't going to inform what I'm making. I'm
yeah,
going to write the things that I write, and I'm gonna, sing the songs that I sing, and and just hope it works. Just hope, that's all I can do. Like I'm not gonna change that up, because we have bills to pay.
I have a friend who's an editor, and she's done stuff that probably a number of you people have seen. And we were talking one time and she was getting really upset because she was coming into the process. She was like, I just don't know if it's good. And I was like, that's the fun part. You never get to know it's good.
Mm-mm.
All you ever, as the person making the thing, all you ever get to know is if it's functions. You can have your checklist of like, does this work technically? Or are the dynamics in the painting right? Is the EQ, is the bass doing what's supposed to be doing? Can you hear the lyrics? Do they say what you want to say? Like you can know that it functions and you can like it and you can say, oh, this is really cool and I think it's really good. But I mean, I've done thousands of paintings and I've done stuff where like I'm just like, oh, this is gonna sell right away, and like tumbleweeds, and then like I'll do something that I just was bored and I was watching TV and I knock it out, and then people go into a bidding war about it. Like there's no way of predicting it,
Mm-mm.
and I don't even really try anymore. Like like I was saying, how I'll make write all those songs at the same time, or I'll do all this artwork all up at the same time. And there's kind of this exercise in removal of self, of ego with that, because like none of them can be your favorites if they're all in the same place. And that's cool because that way you don't end up in situations like I've written 4 songs, I need 6 more, but these are all really good. And if I write these and they're better, then that's going to kind of be sad for these songs. But if they're not, as good as these songs, then that's a problem too. So this way, keeping them all at the same level, you're able to let them all be their own thing as they develop. Um, so it's just trying to remove that like everyone gets the amount of work that needs to get done, and it's as polished as I'm going to polish it, and it's all it gets the focus, but that way you're not kind of putting more pressure on yourself that doesn't necessarily need to be there, or just trying to not listening to what the song needs to be. It's like I, we've never tried to write to genre. We just write the thing, and these are the tools we happen to use for it, and how it ends up is what the song is, as opposed to we're going to write an industrial dance song, or whatever. Like, and even with like Stone Burners, yes, it's an industrial project. It's really fucking noisy, and that's cool. But I'm also not really worried about like, and now it's time for industrial dance or whatever. It's like it's just that just happens to be the language that I'm using for what that is.
yeah. I mean, I think that's like you were saying, it is impossible to know how what you put out is going how it's going to be received. Um, and it is wonderful when it does resonate with people where you're like, oh, somebody gets it. There's a
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
you know, there's a resonance and a connection, and you know, you find your kindred spirits that way, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It never gets old hearing, having somebody say that, this song or this book or whatever meant something to them. Like it, I have never had that feeling of like, oh yeah, yeah, whatever. It's like, no, it it's so touching
Mhm.
every time that happens.
And
And
even if it's
for
in
25 years we've been doing this, like it means something to me every time, every single person that says it.
and even if it's not like a direct translation, like I'll have people come up and say, "Oh, well, this is what this piece means to me," or whatever. And you know, I'm like, "That's great. It's a world away from what I was thinking about when I was doing it, but that's totally cool because this is just as valid an experience for you. Like I would rather you have that than if I tell you what it means to me, which is generally was the thing I was making.
Hmm.
Um, I would rather you have that experience because and I've had people come up with ideas. I'm just like, that's brilliant. Like that makes way more sense than what I was thinking about with this or whatever. Um, and that's always a very cool experience, and it's like, I want that. I want them to have their, like, you put the thing out, and it's like, here's the road, and you can go anywhere on this road. I'm just defining the edges of it. And so it's always neat seeing where they go, as long as it's not like, oh, this is about white power. I'm like, well, no, no, that's
Yeah, I mean, you know, do you ever share like if people ask specifically where they're like, what did this song mean or this particular piece of art? Is that something that you do share, or is that something where you kind of, yeah,
Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, I can't really think of an example of where I wouldn't, if I'm going to put it out there, then I'm putting it out there. So, you know.
yeah, yeah,
and really, like, you can, if you look at ego likeness as output, I mean, you can chart our marriage through it if you know what to look. No, I'm serious though. You can, like there's all kinds of things that charting different events, things like that in it. And so like it's
And some people are going to go on some deep dives now.
good.
yeah.
That's how we get you. But I mean, it's like Hey There Demon is about that one time where we were what?
I I think you might have had enough
Okay.
now.
See, sometimes I just start talking.
Yeah.
But absolutely appreciate like how much you know, you've been sharing. Like you were talking earlier about how, you know, you have had the experience of having guidance from other artists, you know, and you know, I know it's something that, you know, for aspiring artists, you know, in whatever medium, like we were talking about, to hear about both of you just being able to navigate your lives in a way that you're able to like create, you know, put yourselves out there and doing it very courageously. Like I think to be able to share, you know, like little pieces of your heart and soul, it's like you're like, here's my platter of heart, right? So
Right.
We've suffered for our
yeah.
art. Now it's your turn.
Yes, yes. Yeah, but you know, it's so appreciated like how giving you both are about like sharing, you know, your experiences and you know, and the wisdom behind it, because that, you know, doing it like you said for 25 years, you know, you do know what you're doing. I
Yeah. I mean,
imagine so. Yeah.
we can't really tell you how to get famous because we're not, but we can tell you how to keep doing this for a very long time. We can tell you how to stay in the game, keep it.
I, One
I
of the things
mean,
I'm incredibly flattered by is that this audience that we've got, and it's stuck. A lot of these people have stuck with us for this entire time that we've been
mhm,
doing this, and that's amazing to me. That's incredibly flattering.
yeah.
You know, I know so many bands where it's like they're the flavor of the week, and then the audience moves on to this other thing. But and maybe some people have done that with us, but we have had this core that you know gets into the art and music and the writing and
Mhm,
stuff and the things.
yeah. Very, very good people in our audiences.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think that the community and the supporters around are really what make it possible.
Mm.
It's like obviously whatever level, but if you're doing things independently or, like you were saying, like you were like, it's not that we can get you famous, but you can actually do the thing,
Yeah.
and what a gift to be able to understand that, to know like, oh,
Mhm.
it's possible. I grew up in a small town in Texas myself, and I had no idea what was possible. I didn't have a lot of exposure to like, a lot of independent art, things like that. It wasn't until I moved to LA that I had like, a broader scope.
Right.
And so for somebody from a smaller town where I'm like, what? You can actually do this. It's
Mhm.
possible. I mean, that's very inspiring.
Yeah.
One
Yeah,
of,
that
one of
is
the
amazing.
coolest things I ever saw, we were in Decatur, and uh, Donna gets off stage, and these two girls come up to her, and they were like, "We've never seen a female fronted band before, ever." You know?
Yeah, it was an all ages show,
Yeah.
and yeah, I mean, of course they knew that existed, but it had never been to a show with a female, fronted. So yeah, that was, I don't know, that was kind of cool. 'Cause I was like, oh, it was their first experience with that, and I think it made them
Yes.
feel like, you know, oh, this might be something that I could do. So yeah, definitely cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I just want to thank you both for first of all your time, like taking the
Yeah.
time to chat and to share and to just be just such wonderfully inspiring people that, show so many of us like, hey, it's possible.
Oh, thank you. Well, you guys are so great
Yeah,
too, and
really.
I love that you're doing this. This is such a fun project. Like that's really awesome. And I'm so excited to see you in
Me
person.
too. Me too. I'm so excited. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know. I feel like it's going to be just a beautiful reunion. It's going to be a beautiful night of friends for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to say to everybody that's been watching, thank you so much for your time and your support. Please support these two wonderful artists. There are many, many places to find them online. I'm going to start with egolikenessband.com, but are there other places that you prefer?
Well, you can find almost everything because that will
That has links
redirect
to most
to
stuff.
all the other projects. But we're on
Ego
Facebook and
Likeness
Instagram,
Bandcamp.
Blue Sky. Yeah, yeah, all the projects are on Bandcamp.
Uh, my You can find my graphic novel at redandtoothandclaw.art, which is a thing now. Um, I've got my own little label that everything I do goes out on, called Wolfcore Records. Stoneburner official on Bandcamp, with Cop. And I've been putting a bunch of solo stuff out, stephenarcher.bandcamp.com.
And Ego Likeness is still with Metropolis,
Yeah.
so that's the other another place you can find our stuff.
But yeah, otherwise, I pretty much am only on Facebook. I don't like the other platforms. So
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much again. Many, many loves. I can't wait to see you very soon.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Well, you have
Yeah.
safe travels, and we'll all get there safely, and we'll all have a great time. So
Thank you.
thank
Thank
you for
you.
that
yeah,
talk.
Yes, it's been such a joy, truly. And thank you all online, sending much, much love. We will see you next time.